Have you ever wondered why some people keep thick hair for decades while others begin losing it in their 20s? Most people assume hair loss is purely genetic. Others blame hormones like DHT. But beneath every hair follicle on your scalp, there is something even more fundamental quietly determining whether that hair survives. Tiny blood vessels. Right now, beneath every single hair on your head, there is an invisible network of microscopic capillaries delivering oxygen, nutrients, and growth signals to the follicle. And when those blood vessels weaken or disappear, the follicle weakens with them. Hair loss, in many ways, is a vascular problem. I'm Dr. Angio, and today we're going to explore how angiogenesis, the growth of tiny blood vessels, may determine whether your hair continues to grow or slowly disappears. We'll look at what's happening inside the follicle, why blood vessels begin to fail in pattern baldness, and, most importantly, what strategies researchers believe may help support the vascular environment around hair follicles. If you enjoy learning about the real science behind health, metabolism, and disease prevention, make sure to subscribe and like the video. I post new evidence-based breakdowns every week so you can better understand what's actually happening inside your body. Now let's start by looking at the tiny vascular network that surrounds every hair follicle. Each hair follicle is surrounded by an intricate network of blood vessels called the perifollicular vascular plexus. You can imagine this structure as a microscopic basket of capillaries wrapped tightly around the follicle. These vessels deliver oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and growth factors to the cells responsible for producing hair. This network is not random. It is extremely organized and highly specialized. At the base of the follicle lies the hair bulb. This is the part of the follicle where the hair shaft is actually manufactured. Cells here divide rapidly and produce keratin that forms the hair fiber. Because this region is so metabolically active, it requires an exceptional supply of oxygen and nutrients. Researchers studying this region with electron microscopy discovered something remarkable. The capillaries surrounding the hair bulb contain structures called fenestrations. These are tiny openings in the blood vessel walls that allow nutrients and oxygen to pass quickly into surrounding tissue. It's almost like the follicle has its own express delivery system designed to fuel hair growth. As you move upward along the follicle toward the skin surface, the vascular network becomes less dense but remains carefully positioned around key structures. One of these structures is called the bulge, an area that contains hair follicle stem cells. Around this region, scientists have identified a specialized ring of small veins known as the venule annulus. This ring forms during embryonic development and remains associated with the follicle throughout life. Its presence suggests something important. Blood vessels are not simply delivering nutrients, they are helping regulate the environment that maintains follicle stem cells and supports hair regeneration. But perhaps the most remarkable feature of this vascular network is that it is not static. It expands and contracts in perfect synchrony with the hair growth cycle. Your hair does not grow continuously. Each follicle moves through a repeating cycle consisting of 3 phases. The first phase is anagen, the growth phase. During this stage, the follicle is highly active and continuously produces hair. On the scalp, this phase typically lasts between 2 and 6 years. At any given moment, approximately 85 to 95% of scalp hairs are in this growth phase. The second phase is catagen. This is a short transitional period lasting 1 to 2 weeks. During catagen, the follicle begins to shrink and the lower portion of the follicle undergoes programmed cell death. The hair shaft becomes what is known as a club hair. Finally comes telogen, the resting phase. During telogen, the follicle remains inactive for several months before the club hair is eventually shed and the follicle re-enters the anagen phase. Shedding up to 100 hairs per day is completely normal because follicles cycle independently of one another. Now here is where angiogenesis becomes central to hair biology. During anagen, when the follicle is actively growing, the blood vessel network surrounding the follicle expands dramatically. New capillaries form, blood flow increases, and oxygen delivery rises to support the intense metabolic activity occurring inside the follicle. When the follicle transitions into catagen and telogen, many of these blood vessels regress. They disappear because they are no longer required. So with each hair cycle, the vascular network grows and then retracts in a carefully regulated biological rhythm. The molecule orchestrating this entire process is vascular endothelial growth factor, or VEGF. During the growth phase, cells in the hair follicle release VEGF. This molecule signals nearby endothelial cells to proliferate and form new capillaries. Researchers discovered how powerful this signal is through experiments involving genetically engineered mice. When scientists caused hair follicles to produce excess VEGF, the mice developed thicker hair, larger follicles, and faster hair growth. But when VEGF signaling was blocked, hair growth slowed and follicles shrank. These experiments demonstrated something remarkable. Blood vessel formation does not merely support hair growth, it actively helps control it. Now let's examine what happens when this vascular system begins to break down. The most common form of hair loss is androgenetic alopecia, commonly known as pattern baldness. This condition affects roughly half of men and about 30% of women during their lifetime. For many years, researchers believed that hair loss was driven primarily by androgens, particularly a hormone called dihydrotestosterone or DHT. But newer research has revealed that DHT may exert some of its most damaging effects through the vascular system. In the balding scalp, DHT activates androgen receptors inside specialized cells called dermal papilla cells. These cells sit at the base of the follicle and function as the regulatory center controlling hair growth. When DHT binds to these receptors, it triggers production of signaling molecules, including transforming growth factor beta or TGF-beta. These signals cause the tiny blood vessels surrounding the follicle to regress. The endothelial cells lining these capillaries undergo apoptosis, or programmed cell death. As the vascular supply weakens, the follicle begins to shrink. This process is called follicular miniaturization. The anagen phase becomes shorter and shorter. Over time, thick terminal hairs are replaced by thin vellus hairs that resemble peach fuzz. Researchers comparing balding scalp to non-balding scalp from the same individual have observed striking differences in vascular density. Balding areas show fewer capillaries and abnormal microvascular structures surrounding follicles. Importantly, these vascular changes occur early in the process, before the follicle has completely miniaturized. This suggests that vascular regression may contribute directly to the progression of hair loss. Interestingly, hair follicles in different regions of the body respond to androgens very differently. Beard follicles, for example, actually grow in response to androgen signaling. This difference arises because dermal papilla cells in different body regions produce different signaling molecules when stimulated by androgens. Beard dermal papilla cells release growth factors such as IGF-1 that promote hair growth. Balding scalp dermal papilla cells instead release inhibitory signals, including TGF-beta and inflammatory mediators that suppress growth. Once again, VEGF plays a crucial role. Hair follicles affected by pattern baldness show reduced VEGF expression. Lower VEGF levels mean reduced angiogenesis and diminished blood vessel support. Without sufficient vascular supply, follicles lose the oxygen, nutrients, and growth signals necessary to maintain long growth phases. Understanding this vascular component of hair loss has opened the door to new therapeutic approaches. One of the most widely used treatments for hair loss is minoxidil, commonly known as Rogaine. Minoxidil was originally developed as a medication for high blood pressure because it dilates blood vessels. Doctors noticed that patients taking it often developed hair growth as a side effect. Further research revealed that minoxidil stimulates VEGF production in dermal papilla cells, enhancing angiogenesis around hair follicles. In some studies, dermal papilla cells exposed to minoxidil produced several times more VEGF than untreated cells. This increased vascularization improves oxygen delivery and nutrient supply to the follicle, helping support hair growth. Scientists are now exploring additional strategies that stimulate angiogenesis in the scalp. Microneedling is one example. By creating tiny controlled micro-injuries in the skin, microneedling activates natural wound-healing pathways that increase VEGF production and stimulate new blood vessel growth. Experimental microneedle devices delivering pro-angiogenic growth factors have produced accelerated hair regrowth in animal models. Researchers are also investigating ways to deliver VEGF directly to follicles or activate downstream pathways that encourage vascular regeneration. But balance is critical. Too little angiogenesis contributes to follicle miniaturization, while uncontrolled angiogenesis is associated with tumor growth. The goal is localized, controlled stimulation of vascular growth within the follicle microenvironment. Another fascinating area of research, decades, treatment strategies have focused primarily on suppressing hormones such as DHT. While this approach can slow follicular miniaturization, it addresses only one layer of a much more complex biological system. If vascular regression contributes directly to follicle decline, then restoring vascular integrity may be equally important. Supporting the follicle's microvascular niche could help maintain oxygen delivery, nutrient supply, and signaling pathways that sustain healthy hair growth. The future of hair restoration may therefore combine hormonal therapies with strategies designed to strengthen the vascular environment of the follicle. Even simple lifestyle factors may play a role in supporting this system. Scalp massage may increase blood flow and stimulate mechanical signaling pathways in follicle cells. Nutrient deficiencies such as low iron, zinc, or vitamin D have been associated with hair loss, and correcting these deficiencies may support follicle health. Natural compounds like pumpkin seed oil, saw palmetto, rosemary oil, and flavonoids such as quercetin are being studied for their potential effects on androgen signaling and vascular support. Hair loss is a complex condition involving genetics, hormones, vascular biology, inflammation, and stem cell regulation. But understanding the vascular dimension of hair biology reveals something powerful. Hair follicles depend on a dynamic network of tiny blood vessels that continuously adapt to support growth. When that vascular network weakens, follicles weaken. When that environment is restored, follicles may regain their ability to grow. The next time you look in the mirror and think about thinning hair, remember that beneath your scalp lies a remarkable microvascular world that is constantly working to support those follicles. Researchers are only beginning to understand the signals within this system and how they might be harnessed to prevent or even reverse hair loss. The future of hair restoration may not rely solely on blocking hormones or transplanting follicles. It may involve strengthening the vascular environment that makes hair growth possible in the first place. Because when it comes to hair loss, the real story is unfolding in the hidden vascular world beneath the skin. I'm Dr. Angio, and I look forward to exploring more of the science behind angiogenesis, regeneration, and vascular biology with you in the next episode.